The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Zack Sabre Jr., New Japan Cup winner 2018. And you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style with my mates. Enjoy.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be discussing the WWE and New Japan partnership rumors, previewing Dominion, answering your questions, and covering all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tee store, ProWrestlingTees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPW-EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com, with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. Visit njpwext.us today for details. Young boy, how you doing, man?
Oh, just recuperating from a very, very long holiday weekend.
Yeah, I had a Memorial Day weekend here in the States. Big Double or Nothing AEW weekend as well.
Yeah, I don't care so much about that, but no, I watched it. The show was good. You know, lots of people in the crowd, so that's cool, I guess.
Side Dojo down bad, man.
Why? Because Matt got thrown out?
Yeah, first eliminated.
Bro, that shit don't matter. Matt signed for X number of years. He got the bag. Like,
I know
he's good.
I know he doesn't care as long as he's getting paid and he's being featured.
He doesn't give a fuck.
I know. He's probably like, yeah, get me out there quick. I can just go back and relax the rest of the night.
Matt is a jobber to the stars.
But
no, I'm just playing. Matt's great.
No, Matt has been awesome in AEW and one of the best, obviously, firsthand, one of the best, in-ring technicians, bell-to-bell guy. And he has all his TV matches have been really, really good. And so always looking forward to when Matt's in action.
Yeah. I discovered this new show. Normally, I'm not the kind of person that would like a show that is like a reality TV show, but, bro, this Forbidden Island show, oh, my God. Oh, no. Temptation Island.
Yeah,
that's what it's called.
One that played on USA.
Yeah, bro. Yo, me and Megan, we've been just, like, binging that show. It's incredible. It's like four couples go to an island to test their love to see if they really got the legs to like stand, and they're on this island for a month, and they get split up, and the 4 girls go live in a house with like 12 dudes, and then the 4 dudes go live in a house with like 12 chicks, and the couples don't see each other like the whole entire time, and they gotta like see if they can stay faithful to their people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is the wildest shit ever. It is the
sounds like a recipe for disaster for marriages there or relationships.
Oh, it's terrible. It's like the worst human beings like not only the couples, but like the contestants that are like coming to break them up. Like everyone involved in this. If anyone's listening right now and you were on that show, I apologize, but everyone on that show is a trash person. I I love it. It's a really, really good show.
Nice. Might have to check that out. See how trashy it is.
Don't do it, man. It's bad. It's real bad.
Well, before we get going here, two things. First, if you haven't already, check out the Social Suplex Draft Part 1 over on the Social Suplex Podcast Network feed. Part 2 will be coming as soon as One Nation Radio will turn their card in.
Why are they taking so long? I thought there was a specific amount of time they needed to record within.
I don't know. I'll give them a little grace period since, Rich did head down to Jacksonville for Double or Nothing this weekend. And
that doesn't matter. Your personal life doesn't get to, supersede your work obligations when it comes to the network. Like, this feels like an attack on us. And here's the thing. Like, we put together an incredible card. And I don't know. I feel like the reason that they're taking so long is because they're scared or something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, they're shook, man. They know we brought the heat last year. We're bringing the heat again this year.
It's just like, I would say One Nation Radio is one of the best drafters in this game, 3 years running. But every time, I feel like we fuck them up when it comes to the booking aspect. So, like, I feel like they're trying to work things out so that they win this shit. But, like, at the end of the day, they're going to lose to us once again. And, like, that's just the way it is,
Yeah. There's some things.
Death, taxes.
That's exactly where I was going.
Keeping It Strong Style beats One Nation Radio in the draft. Like, it's a guarantee.
Yeah. They should have, done your idea of, doing a battle bowl and, trying to split us up to, get a chance for somebody else to win. But as long as we're together, you're going to get the superior drafting, you're going to get superior booking.
Yeah. Superior. Yeah. And we took some. They're like, oh, those are some deep cuts. Hell yeah, they were deep cuts. They're going to take us to the win. That's what's happening with those deep cuts.
And
people out here taking fucking Finn Balor and shit. Ricochet. Book Ricochet into, relevance again.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Good luck, man.
But other thing, it is the 1st of June, so that means May is over. We got to talk about Wrestler of the Month, Match of the Month for May. I'll kick it off with Wrestler of the Month. We are awarding the Wrestler of the Month to the Dirty Daddy, Chris Dickinson. Chris had a really great month on New Japan Strong. He was on 3 of the 4 main events on the Collision Tour. Of course, he had the tag match, him and Mox against Narita and Nagata, where him and Mox got the victory there. Then the following week, he was in the Team Filthy versus the Strong Sukigun elimination match, where he was the sole survivor, won that. And then, of course, he had the Strong Openweight Championship match against Filthy Tom Lawler, which was an awesome match, probably the best match in Strong history. We'll talk about a little bit later in the show. So yeah, Chris had an awesome one. Plus, he was on Keeping It Strong Style as a guest too. That's a little perk there too. So, the Dirty Daddy, the Wrestler of the Month for May.
Yeah, and then there's a few good contenders for the month of May for Match of the Month. Tanahashi against Jay White for the Never title. Obviously, Chris Dickinson and Tom Lawler closing out the month strong on New Japan Strong, but the winner is a bona fide Match of the Year contender across the board, not just in New Japan. And who knows? Maybe it'll be the last time we ever see these two wrestle one another, I'm not trying to throw that out there, but we don't know what's going on. So our Match of the Month for May 2021, the Dragon Shingo Takagi versus Will Osprey for the IWGP World Heavyweight title.
Yeah, absolutely incredible match. If you have not watched that match, I don't know what the heck you're doing, but you need to watch that incredible matchup.
Yeah, we already did the breakdown a few weeks back, so if you want to get a chance, go through the archives. You can find that there. Some really great audio, but the match is awesome. I hope that's not the last time we see it between them two, especially since Osprey owes this man Shingo one.
Yes.
But yeah, that's our Match of the Month, and a very strong contender for Match of the Year as well.
Yeah. So now we got to talk about the hot topic that it's been a buzz in the New Japan community this past week, and that is the rumors of WWE and New Japan potentially partnering. Reports coming out that WWE President Nick Khan has been in talks of New Japan Pro Wrestling about WWE becoming NJPW's exclusive American partner.
Bitch. Their exclusive bitch.
Dave Meltzer reported in this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter that talks regarding the potential partnership dates back to March or early April, but there is no indication whether discussions are where they're currently at. If talks go anywhere, the deal would include WWE sending talent, including top stars, to work in New Japan. Then the story kind of picked up from here, where we had Tony Khan doing a shoot promo, if you want to call it that, on Twitter, addressing the rumors. And Tony said, he'd read the Observer in the morning, heard that, WWE President Nick Khan was in talks with New Japan, and Khan said that Nick Khan has done a lot in the last 2 months, but mentioned in the last 2 weeks that he booked Narita, Rocky Romero, Yuji Nagata, that he had future plans for the Iwgp US title, which is currently held by Mox. And Khan closed his promo up by saying there could only be one Khan in pro wrestling, not some con man from Connecticut. Then in the post-match scrum for Double or Nothing, Tony Khan mentioned that he had a handshake deal with Leo Rush, who debuted in the Casino Battle Royal, and that Rush would still be able to do New Japan events. And then Meltzer kind of followed up with that, saying that Leo Rush has signed a New Japan contract, and there have been several other sources coming out confirming that Leo Rush is under New Japan contract, and him working AEW was allowed by New Japan. New Japan's letting him work AEW and MLW. So, young boy, thoughts on this WWE and New Japan talking a potential partnership if this were to happen?
One other thing, Tony Khan claims that before he cut that promo on Nick Khan on YouTube and social media, that he contacted New Japan and asked if they thought he should cut the promo, and that they agreed to it and thought it was great, and that he expects to continue working with New Japan. My assumption reading that is this. He called Rocky. He called Rocky, was like, yo, you think I should do this promo? Rocky's like, yeah, why not? Go for it. That is his definition of The Office, of New Japan approving of whatever the fuck that was.
Tony Khan calls himself the Forbidden Door. I think Rocky Romero is the key to the Forbidden Door.
I think that Tony Khan, in any capacity other than just like businessman, is fucking cringe as fuck. That is literally what I think. I don't find his I think the Impact promos he does are like, they're kind of goofy, but they're like funny, but like that they're funny in the way that like those fake commercials on NWA Power were.
Right.
I don't take them seriously. Like, but I also don't think that they're like good for business either. I just think they're just there, and it's like, whatever, it's Impact. Like, no one watches that shit anyway, so no harm, no foul. But I don't know. I thought that this came off as the cringiest of things he could have possibly done. I don't know. I feel like if you're a diehard AEW fan, maybe you love it, but like, I don't know. As like a New Japan fan, I'm like, Tony Khan has got plans for the US title, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. It just sounded, he sounded agitated to me was one thing. He sounded like he was really bothered or perturbed at the idea that there was like word out there that WWE and New Japan might be working together. And then he's like going to call it Nick Khan. Most people don't know who the fuck Nick Khan is, like your average, wrestling fan who watches probably both programs religiously. They don't know Nick Khan. They like, don't know what luckily this is just on social media.
Right.
Like,
and I think that's why they left it on Twitter. Cause if you're kind of on Twitter, you kind of know Nick Khan. You hear all the stories about Nick Khan, all the big moves that he's been making.
Some people do.
Yeah. But I think a lot of some of the diehard people on Twitter kind of have at least heard the name Nick Khan. especially when it got hot, because there was tons of jokes about WWE getting a different car and all that kind of stuff. So
I honestly, I thought that was embarrassing for him, to be honest with you. Like, that's literally what I thought. I didn't think it was like cool. Like, it doesn't draw, doesn't get anybody over. It's not good for business. It makes Tony Khan look like a mark. I don't get it at all, to be honest with you. I don't know. Maybe that's like some being the elite shit, but like the being the elite shit actually works. So I don't know. I didn't get that. But as far as these talks go, I mean, who the fuck knows, bro? It's 2021. Wrestling is weird. It is interesting. I remember Tama a few months back sort of like alluding to the idea that he would rather work with like New Japan than AEW. I think his show's a gimmick as well. I listened to it.
Oh, yeah. Total gimmick.
Yeah, I've been like doing some catch up, and I'm like at a point where I'm like, I don't even know if I want to listen to him, because the AEW hate is so, like, he just kind of reminds me a little bit of like Jim Cornette right now. Basically just like getting a niche from a certain aspect of the audience by just burying any and everything that's, related to these guys that he's kayfabe not supposed to like,
Right.
But I'm pretty sure they're all working together.
Oh, yeah, I think he's working an angle. I would not be surprised if later this year we saw GOD versus Young Bucks on AEW.
We'll see. But he did allude to the idea of like working with WWE and NXT, hit us up, yada, yada. I mean, there have been times in the past, very, 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 like, nothing definitively close, but there have been times over the past decade where, relations between New Japan and WWE were better than they had been at different times. I think once New Japan kind of became the clear-cut number 2, that's where things sort of changed quite a bit between the two companies. But up until that, things were somewhat friendly. And then, now the idea that they might have a working relationship, I don't know. I don't know if there's truth to it. Do I think there's a chance it could happen? I do. For some business reasons, I could see why it might happen. Do I think it could work? I absolutely don't think it could work at all. And I have a lot more reasons why I don't think that relationship would work out at all. I think they should completely steer away from it. And that's not me saying it as a fanboy, although I have some fanboy opinions on the matter. From a purely objective standpoint, I don't see how it would benefit New Japan long term. I do see ways it would probably hurt them long term.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. I think partnering with WWE right now, it'd be a horrible mistake. I know people are talking about, they could do stuff with NXT and Triple H could be involved. Overall, I still think it wouldn't be the best thing for New Japan. And, these talks were, reported early, March, April. But, since then, we've seen New Japan's increase in, who they're working with in North America. We're seeing more stuff with AEW. We're seeing more stuff with Impact. We're seeing guys go to MLW. So I just find it very interesting that this report comes out, and we're clearly seeing who New Japan is currently working with right now.
Well, I think there could be, and just to kind of put my tinfoil hat on for a minute, it's not like we haven't seen wrestlers or individuals try to, get themselves into a bit of a bidding war to raise the value of their, of their brand. And I don't think that this could be unlike that. I think there's a definitive, possibility that New Japan may potentially be shopping around for a U.S. partner. I don't even know. The funny thing in all this, we don't even know where they stand with Ring of Honor.
Right. I mean, in the last year, we've only seen Rocky Romero and David Finlay appear on ROH programming. And, of course, there's Rio Lee, who is under Ring of Honor contract, but he definitely wants to continue to work New Japan.
Yeah, things are weird with that whole situation. But, the whole fan base, they're arguing over, an AEW, WWE type of situation. ROH just kind of like left out in the cold.
Yeah, what about us?
But, yeah. Oh, man, I don't even know what the point I was originally starting to make is anymore.
You were talking about them potentially working together to raise or doing a bidding war kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, if they are hypothetically sort of shopping around, a partnership deal, maybe an exclusive one potentially, you might want to leak that news that you're in talks with WWE, things are going on to maybe, raise the dollar value, or it might not even be a value thing. It might be more like a bargaining chip sort of situation. Like, I don't know what the situation is, but let's just say they are talking to AEW about something exclusive. If the news is out there like, hey, we have other options, things we could be doing, that might give them leverage in any sort of like, negotiations that they might have going on.
Yeah, that's true. And also, I think the big thing that WWE can offer New Japan right now is definitely finances. That cash, WWE, they're raking in the cash right now. They're letting go people left and right. Record profits that they could sweeten the deal, give New Japan some cash.
Yeah, and I don't even know if that's how it works, really. Maybe it does. I'm not sure in situations like this, but I mean, if WWE's deep pockets do indicate that, like, if there is some sort of like, I don't know, bonus like system in place, or pay per use or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, they definitely could help, but I don't even know if that's how that sort of transaction is even worked out. I've always kind of assumed it was more like a mutually beneficial sort of thing, trading talent, and that, I've always just assumed that when the talent goes over, that the other company foots the bill. I don't know.
Right, yeah. And of course, there's also the whole Daniel Bryan piece to this. Before his contract was up, Daniel Bryan talking about how he wants to work New Japan, but also work for WWE at the same time. So a lot of people are thinking that this is, WWE trying to sweeten the deal for Daniel Bryan to get Daniel Bryan to re-sign, be like, hey, we're working with New Japan now. We'll let you work New Japan. You can still work for us, kind of thing. So,
well, the WWE NXT Japan thing happened last year, just prior to the pandemic, and we were kind of reporting on that at the time. And WWE was making offers to partner or even potentially purchase several of the Japanese companies that were out there, not unlike what they've done with other brands in the past, and none of that really came to fruition. If you do any kind of homework, it's really, really difficult for any sort of Western promotional company to come into Japan and do business, just because the entire business, the business practices and decorum and everything, they're just way different. I mean, UFC bought Pride in 2007 and had a ready-made, blockbuster company, promotional company ready to go, and they couldn't even get a show off the ground in Japan. So, I mean, and that was the largest MMA brand in the entire world at the time, bigger than the UFC was. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if WWE would be able to succeed doing anything like that in Japan. And that's something we talked about in the past as well. But with this situation, it would benefit WWE from one certain aspect. Well, two. So you brought up the fact, Daniel Bryan, he's expressed, publicly and privately that he wants to work outside of the company, and the idea that he would be able to work for and do shots and appearances for New Japan while being under contract with WWE, that would give WWE a lot of leverage in that bidding war to retain his services, because although maybe they don't see him as the kind of star that he could potentially be poised, to be presented as, they don't want him to be a difference maker elsewhere. So that would be a huge ace up their sleeves if they could make that happen. Plus, I'm sure that would help with any number of talent who are in a similar position.
Right, and you have guys like Nakamura saying, he wants his last match to be with Tanahashi. He can end up getting his last, Tanahashi match out of that kind of deal.
There's a lot of things you could do. There's a lot. And then, and then I know that the like diehard fans are going crazy thinking of like the dream match scenarios and yada yada and all that. So kind of gives way to that sort of thinking. But the other aspect is from a business standpoint. So, I mean, AEW's position is strengthened immensely provided the New Japan partnership continues on. And it also helps just the general marketplace across the board, provided that they still keep these kind of like open border policies with, Impact and AAA and CMLL and Ring of Honor and MLW and yada yada. The list goes on and on. But if WWE sort of takes New Japan as a pawn off the board and says they can't work with any of those companies, they're basically making the number 3 company in the world right now from a revenue standpoint sort of tied to them. And it takes that any possibility of a relationship with AEW away entirely, and it diminishes AEW, keeps New Japan at a certain level, and it just bolsters the stranglehold that WWE has in the marketplace for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's very strategic from that standpoint if it were to happen.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about, keep away from AEW, weakening AEW. They lost the Wednesday Night Wars. NXT wasn't getting the job done. Taking away the New Japan partnership, I think, would be a big blow, especially fans are all about the Forbidden Door and New Japan and AEW working together and, seeing, Kenny and Abushi and all these, crossover matches that could happen with AEW and New Japan.
My whole thing with this is I don't know what kind of truth there are to these speculations and rumors. We don't know. They're reports. But I think it would be a perilous road to go down. Any company that has partnered with WWE post 83, it's either been a completely one-sided partnership or it's been detrimental to the smaller company. There are some, you could throw a couple of names out there that would be maybe, exceptions to that rule. I don't know, FMW maybe, OVW. You'd have to throw some pretty obscure situations. Michinoku Pro. But for the most part, when companies end up working with WWE, it's a death knell for them because they get swallowed up. They get, bombarded and raided for talent. They, end up having to succumb to whatever WWE decides when it comes to booking. And although I think some fans have kind of, I don't know, in their mind think Triple H will be the one calling the shots. At the end of the day, Vince McMahon makes all the booking decisions. And, we've seen some pretty petty booking decisions in the very recent past. I mean, they wouldn't even let Toni Storm, work that show over for Stardom when she was there and stuff like that. So,
I mean, if you want to look at kind of what WWE does to companies, look no further than what happened in the UK, coming in with NXT UK. Oh, we're going to work through these promotions. We're going to allow their talent to work all these other shows. And the next thing you know, WWE, they're pulling talent from shows. They can't work other shows. Their companies are kind of being, killed off.
Same thing that happened to Evolve, and did it benefit some people? It became a springboard for some people to get into WWE's developmental system. And I'm sure who's the guy that's a promoter for them?
Gabe Sapolsky.
Yeah, Gabe. I'm sure Gabe got the bag off that, which is great. But, it kind of killed the indie scene. That was the premier indie spot in North America, and it's gone. And I mean, there's a lot of historical references we could talk about. Just know, go through your history, go look. Anytime WWE has worked with another company, they, strip them and manipulate them and use them, and they're the worse for wear afterwards. And it's happened consistently since the early 80s. You're talking 35, almost 40 years now that this has been going on. So I don't think this would be a good thing for New Japan. I couldn't imagine them sending say Randy Orton to the Tokyo Dome and being yeah, he's got to beat Tanahashi.
Yeah.
And then New Japan having to be okay.
Right.
And that's what it would be like. I also can't imagine how WWE would handle some of the Japanese talent if they were to come over. Let's say, oh my God, they sent someone on an excursion to NXT. I feel like that could be disastrous,
Actually, I think NXT as an excursion spot wouldn't be too bad since NXT, I mean, it's not at its peak, but it's still more wrestling based, and it's a young lion. It's not like an established star. You're not going to kill off a top star being booked in something bad.
You feel like that after the way that they booked Xia Li and after the way they booked Kushida and all that? Like, I don't.
No, but I'm saying
not since they went to the 2-hour live production.
Right, but I'm saying if you send over, Suji over there, he's not a star yet. He can do whatever gimmick they do and come back and he'll be fine. That wouldn't really kill him. But now if you're sending over Okada, Tanahashi, Naito, and they're getting eaten by zombies, that's not a good look.
I'm at the point I have got that little faith in the company, in their booking, that I don't have that kind of confidence in them whatsoever. I think that they could literally fuck up pretty much any and everybody that they touch that comes over.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, there could be some benefit as far as like the one thing is like they might have a bigger platform in North America, but then again, it's WWE's platform and they're not getting even a portion of. I mean, who knows? Like New Japan Strong probably just have to stay like basically on their streaming site and in a little warehouse with no fans in order for that to kind of like continue,
Right. Or WWE might try to turn Strong into like an Evolve. Like, all right, we're going to send our NXT guys over there, and they're going to beat all your Strong guys.
Yeah, NXT Strong. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know, man. I think there's from like a personal standpoint, I just don't want to see it at all. I have no desire. I understand from a talent perspective, nobody has a better roster than WWE, and it's been that way for 5 or 6 years now. And I understand we do a New Japan podcast, but a spade is a spade, and it's just the truth. When it comes to raw talent, the greatest collection of talent in the world is always in WWE. They just happen to be the worst at utilizing that talent in a meaningful way. So like, yeah, I do understand that there are incredible wrestlers there. Many who've been in New Japan in the past, many who haven't, that I'd like to see at some point. But I mean, I have no desire to see WWE contracted wrestlers facing off against New Japan contracted wrestlers in any scenario, really. Like, I just don't. And then when I think about the gimmickry, like, think about Alexa Bliss, what they're doing with Aleister Black, the zombies, I don't know, just all that shit. Like, it's just so bad. Miz and Morrison, like, ugh, I don't want anything like that touching the New Japan product. Like, that just sounds like, after how hard this year has been and how bad things have been, the idea of more contamination like that just, it makes my stomach turn.
Yeah, just
that's something that could make me, like, if it were to go too bad, that's maybe something that could actually make me not want to do Keepin' It Strong Style.
Yeah, it's just like the worst of the worst that would happen.
That's like the worst case scenario.
Yeah. And I'm just picturing, Hiromu chasing R-Truth for the 24/7 title.
Bro, I don't want to see Okada lose to I don't want to see him wrestle the big dog at WrestleMania and acknowledging, him as the head of the table. Like, what? Ugh. God, no.
But,
not that would ever happen, but just stuff like that. I just think about it like, oh my God. Also, I mean, worst case scenario, women start wrestling in New Japan, That cerulean blue is sacred. I mean, no, I'm just playing. That would be the least of our worries, unless it was like,
Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, unless it was like Alexa Bliss and like Natty against, I don't know, Tamina and just Carmella or some shit. Ugh.
Well, let's dive into some questions here. We got a lot of questions on this subject. So first, Viking Fan has a series of questions here. First, it says, how long do you think this WWE/NJPW partnership has been in play? I remember hearing Brody Lee talk about how Triple H offered him a chance to work for New Japan when he was still with the WWE, and that had to be 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know that was ever something that could actually happen. Who knows what the deal is with that? That I've thought, when I heard that during that interview, I thought it was really weird. But like I've said, they've had different relationships over the years at different times. And I mean, Albert was a huge part of New Japan at one point. When he left, that was sort of like a kind of connection and bridge that they still kind of had ongoing. So, I mean, I don't know what the situation is at this point, but I mean, things were definitely friendlier at one point. Even, Liger worked, NXT. Not to say that New Japan was happy about that, because if I recall, they weren't. They actually were doing a show in New York that same night with ROH.
Right, yeah.
The Field of Honor. And his contract allows him to work as a freelancer anywhere he wanted. And he was kind of doing a favor for Regal. But, at the same time, like, that was also a period where the IWGP titles were referenced a lot on television. There was passing of promotional material between the two companies back then.
There's a lot of footage, a lot of pictures for guys like Finn Balor and Nakamura, AJ, the Good Brothers, and stuff like that.
Yeah, they had a friendlier relationship. But I think this current thing we're talking about, I mean, we can't speculate. All we can say is what we know. And what we know is it's been going on for maybe a month, maybe two. That's what we know. Could have been, could there be more that we don't know? Of course. But that's what we know.
Right. Until we get an official statement, it's all speculation, all rumors. We won't know if they're still talking or the talks are still going on. His next question: if you were ROH, AEW, Impact, CMLL, Rev Pro, or any other promotion working with New Japan, what would you try to do to get New Japan to stay on your side? What can you offer them that WWE can't? Because I'm just going to say it. New Japan would be crazy not to explore the possibility of working with WWE if it was on the table. The money they can make in the dream matchups far exceeds anything these promotions could offer.
My whole thing is right now, with how things are so in flux with New Japan management and the way things have been this past year, God only knows what is really going on. Maybe this is something they're considering. Maybe it's not. We don't know. But I feel like it could be a possibility, just given how this past year's been and everything like that. Yeah, I do. And also keep in mind, like, they still have like shareholders that they have to answer to and board meetings, everything like that. And so, I mean, if there really was a possibility to work with WWE and it was, I don't know, like you said, that is something they could easily pass up on. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as like what can these other, partner promotions offer New Japan that WWE can't, I mean, I think just the confidence in the booking and how they're going to use talent. We've seen guys come over from North America, and we've seen several companies drop the ball with them, but I think WWE would be just another one that would drop the ball, and I think they have a better chance putting their faith in AEW and Impact now and Rev Pro and some of these other promotions to send Young Lions for excursion.
I don't know that there's much that the other companies could do to stop it. I feel like they're sort of a non-factor in all this, meaning if a deal were to be worked out, let's say a week from now, that's it. It's going to happen. I don't think that any of these companies, AEW included, really have a lot to offer, money-wise, creatively. There's not really much that they could do, period. Right. I'm still like, once everything kind of gets better with this pandemic, how much longer are we going to see people, working AEW, Impact, ROH, all that sort of stuff? Like, that just seems non-sustainable, especially given the way that New Japan has been. Right,
especially since New Japan, they want a foothold here in the Western market. They want to tour. They want to do big shows. They were planning on doing Wrestle Dynasty and MSG, which I'm sure WWE wasn't happy about them using, quote-unquote WWE's building. And so, they're going to want to eventually, maybe get fans in for Strong and maybe take Strong on tour or something like that. So it's going to be very hard with New Japan working with these companies, but also trying to compete for the same market, same fans, trying to get TV deals. So it's going to, you made a good point. It's definitely going to be interesting once things kind of clear up and New Japan's, getting kind of back on their game plan for the Western expansion.
Yeah, So I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I don't even know what's. I mean, the very fact that they're working with all these companies is still kind of a little bit mind-boggling. I'm not mad about it, but I'm just confused. So I'm like, what's the long-term, outcome of all this going to be? My thinking is it probably will be them working with AEW, which, I think the one thing that I've kind of talked about in the past is like, from a booking perspective, who gets the power,
Right.
And at this point, I think most of these things are not partnerships. I think they're all kind of just one-off deals. A trade for a trade, like, or at least with AEW, it seems that way. With Impact, I don't know. I I think Impact's just glad to feature New Japan guys. Period.
Right, because we haven't seen any Impact guys come over to Strong yet, and also no Impact guys have been able to go over to Japan or know those rumors of the Good Brothers are potentially supposed to go over. But due to the pandemic, that hasn't happened. So, yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to see any Impact guys in New Japan.
We will see.
So, this next question, which 5 guys from the WWE would you send to New Japan and vice versa? Are you guys ready for a zombie lumberjack match to be a KOPW stipulation?
Nope. Not really. I don't even know who I would send. I mean, who would you send?
I mean, initially my head just goes to the former guys that were there. I'm thinking, Ricochet, Finn Balor, Nakamura, War Raiders. Probably be the top of mind. Maybe AJ Styles. You do some kind of Bullet Club storyline with him.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is the amount of talent that exists are in WWE, like I mentioned, it's so vast. Couple guys that I would send, and I'm just kind of spitballing here. I would definitely send Rey Mysterio Jr.
Yeah.
That was someone they really wanted to do business with, someone that they could draw well with, and someone that's well known. I would bring back AJ for sure. Obviously there's Nakamura, but I'm not sure. I think Ricochet is another one.
Yeah.
That WWE probably doesn't care that much about, but New Japan could probably do business with him, for sure. I'm kind of thinking back to like NXT. I mean,
what about Walter?
Oh, Walter, yeah, that's one. That's a big one. I would send Walter. Maybe Cesaro.
Yeah.
I think he would do really well there. And bro, there's so many.
There's so many great guys.
We didn't even get to NXT. I mean, there's a lot of people there. Finn Balor, Swerve, Gargano. Kushida, Kyle O'Reilly. And the list goes on and on. Pete Dunne.
Yeah. Adam Cole, Mustafa Ali, I think is a guy who could do well in the junior division.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of options there.
Yeah. He also says, with Lio Rush signing with New Japan, is it a lock that he'll be in this year's Best of Super Junior, and which faction would you put him in?
I don't think it's a lock, because I think part of the issue is, the travel restrictions and the visa issue. So is it a possibility? Sure. I mean, I don't even know that he really is signed. It's something that Dave reported, which means it probably is likely. But I don't even know that that's 100% confirmed,
Right, because New Japan, they don't really announce, like, they're not like AEW, like, this person is all elite, we've signed this person, or, WWE says we signed this person. Because remember, Cobb was like, I'm going to wait to announce my signing when the company does it. And clearly, it was New Japan. New Japan has never announced, oh, yeah, we signed Jeff Cobb. So they're not, if they sign Lio Rush, they're not going to announce him. But I
think once he, became the member of, the United Empire, that was sort of like their unofficial way of doing it,
Right. I will say, there are not many New Japan Strong guys that are on the profiles on their website, but Lio Rush is one of those, along with Filthy Tom Lawler and I think 2 other guys. I can't remember who the 2 guys were right now. So maybe there is.
The other thing, too, we don't know what the details of these alleged deals even are, if they even include working New Japan. I think it would be, of course, foolish to invest, good time and money into a talent that you didn't plan to use in your domestic market. But I mean, I could also see a potential where, maybe these guys are signed to like low yielding deals, similar to like what NXT UK talents were signed to when they did the UK brand. And it's like you're signed, but it's not like they're a full-fledged domestic roster member, you know?
Right.
And I'm just speculating there. Maybe I'm wrong. We don't really know the details, but I think if he can make it to Japan, yeah, he's a lock for Super Juniors, but we don't even know if he can.
Right, because the big issue with there is guys who did not have visas before the pandemic can't get into the country, which is why the guys who did have visas, guys like ELP, GOD, that's why they're able to go back and forth right now, but not guys like Leo Rush, Filthy Tom, Chris Dickinson. They don't have new visas, and they have to get visas before they can get back in. With the pandemic, that's going to take a while.
Right.
And his last question, as Tony Khan said from his cringy promo, there can only be one Khan in the wrestling business. So, F, marry, kill, Tony Khan, Nick Khan, and the Great O-Khan.
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, I would F the Great O-Khan because he just seems like a really passionate guy, you know? From a marry standpoint, I'd probably have to marry Nick Khan because, like, while I appreciate Tony Khan, I think he's a great candidate for the marry, classification. And he gets things done. Like, no one seems to be the kind of, like, deal maker that, you know, Nick Khan is. And the fact that he'd be able to provide for me in that way from a financial standpoint seems to make him, like, the optimum partner for me. So, gonna have to marry Nick, and unfortunately I'm gonna have to kill Tony Khan, which, you know, will be a blow to the wrestling industry, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but I'm thinking of my future.
I mean, I think the future could be bright with TK, you know, owns the Jaguars, the Fulham football team, the Khan family.
Yeah, it would be bright, but I feel like it would be brighter with Nick. I don't know, there's something about him, you know.
I don't know, man. That man be in the shadows. I don't really trust that man. I don't know, man. I think, yeah, I'll go with F. Great O'Khan, marry Tony Khan, and I'll kill Nick Khan.
Oh, wow. You're playing games with your future, bro. You need to invest in yourself, level up, you know?
Oh, man. So next question here for Rambo and Slam Pigs. I heard that Leo Rush appeared at Double or Nothing as a talent signed New Japan, who was appearing on loan to further that relationship. Do you know if that is accurate? I always assumed he was just a freelancer because he seems to work a lot of places.
Well, I have not heard that he was on loan. From the reports that we've read and what we've heard, he was there under a handshake deal. Could it be something to further the partnership between the two of them? Possibly, but it didn't come off that way sounding to me.
Yeah, I mean, on commentary, they did mention that he wrestles in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They did mention that, but yeah, I think it's just kind of a handshake deal. I mean, Leo, obviously, he kind of has a deal to kind of work wherever in the U.S., especially since he can't get to Japan. So, obviously, if he is under a New Japan contract, they're allowing him to work AEW, MLW, GCW while he's in the States.
Is he still Triple A champion?
No. So did you hear about what happened with that?
No.
So apparently AAA did not approve the title change. So
what?
Yeah, they did the title change. He beat Laredo Kid, but then the next AAA show, Laredo Kid walks out with the title, and like AAA is pretty much retconning the fact that Leo Rush ever like beat him and held a title.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
And then like the next MLW, like Laredo Kid just walks out with the title and like it's just kind of like, oh yeah.
So did MLW address this in any way or no?
I haven't watched. I just heard like Lanza and them talking about it. What happened? Because except they had another matchup and like Laredo Kid just walked out with the belt already, and it was like weird. I don't know how they addressed it on TV, but yeah, AAA was not
That's
down
cool.
with that. Rambone's other question, he says, when Bushiroad rebrands New Japan as NXT Japan, will you guys still do the podcast?
No.
We might be doing, Keepin It Cyber Agent.
Yeah, man, I couldn't do a podcast about a WWE version of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like, no way.
Yeah. EMJ does PR. He says Tony Khan said he talked to NJPW before cutting his WWE promo. He also said they've got lots of plans and ideas for the relationship. What would an ideal relationship between AEW and New Japan look like from the business perspective? This year, NJPW has had its people work Impact, AEW, ROH, MLW in the U.S. They're on TV, pay-per-view, winning titles. So I got to ask, is Rocky Romero Finesser of the Year?
Oh, he's got to be a candidate for Finesser of the Year.
Yeah.
Rich James, if you guys are listening, probably just Rich. Yeah, you definitely need to put that in the docket for sure. But, I mean, I feel like an ideal version of the partnership would be similar to what we've been seeing in the most recent past out of AEW, with them featuring, New Japan talents and titles and things like that, but in reverse. So, I mean, I would really love at some point, if they are going to continue this, to start seeing some of, the AEW talent featured in tournaments, featured on tours, in storylines, that sort of thing, kind of reciprocate it both ways, both in Japan and on Strong. So, I think the ideal situation would just be more of what we're seeing right now.
Right. And with, AEW's, limited schedule, a lot of the younger guys could use more dates, more places to work, more experience, work with some different guys. And so, yeah, more. Get some guys on Strong, get some guys to Japan when you can send them over to Japan.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm thinking is like, not to say that AEW needs to completely like put all their promotional power behind New Japan guys, but I mean, if, for instance, let's say you're gonna have Darby Allin go to Japan. Well, Darby Allin's a ratings mover, but you don't want to deny him the ability to work Japan. So, maybe you write him out in story in AEW. In the meantime, you hype up whoever who would be a nice little replacement for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks over in America from Japan.
So replacing Darby Allin for somebody with Japan.
Yeah, who's someone that you could send over there that would like be a difference maker on television? Let's say Hiromu.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Okay, so you send Hiromu, and I think that sort of thing is somewhat ideal because both guys mean something to each company, and you put promotional, you put the promotional power behind Hiromu before you bring him in, and then that way he's kind of helping with the ratings when he's doing whatever it is that he's doing with AEW, getting kind of highlighted, featured. And at the same time, Darby can come work, a tour here, be featured, maybe build up to a big match at, whatever XYZ, B-level pay-per-view you have. And then they go back, I would like to see more talent trades like that sort of situation going on.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be simultaneous either, maybe 1 month they send a guy, then the next month they send a guy, something like that. Obviously the tag situation in AEW, there's a lot of tag teams that could really help some of these tag tournaments that New Japan has been kind of lacking in. Also, their tag divisions in general.
Right. We won't have to see, GOD versus Techers for 6 months in a row. You can, throw in a Proud and Powerful. You can throw in a Jurassic Express, Seidel Brothers. You can throw in a bunch of different teams into that New Japan tag division.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw Matt put something out about wanting to win the junior title.
Yeah, I retweeted that. He was like, "Yeah, I get a shot that I'm your next IWGP junior champion," something like that. He said so. Interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if he can get into the country.
Next set of questions here from Dom Homie 101. Thoughts on the reports of Lio Rush signing with New Japan? How would you guys introduce Lio Rush to the Japanese audience?
I would just do vignettes and then bring him out and have him have a killer match with Desperado for the title.
Yeah, I think we've kind of seen the formula of how you bring somebody in. We've seen it kind of with Mox and some of these other guys that they've brought in over a couple of years. You do these, ELP, you do these weeks of kind of vignettes. You get the character hyped up, and then you debut him on a big stage and have him win a big match, have a great match, and off to the road there. I mean, especially if you do it kind of like with ELP right before Best of Super Junior time, get a big win, big debut, and then he's in the Super Junior tournament. I think that's a great way because then he has a series of a bunch of great matches with the junior division.
As far as the faction question goes, I mean, I'm looking at, LIJ, Bullet Club, Suzuki-gun, Chaos United Empire, and then obviously there's just Hantai. I honestly feel like he fits in best with just the general unit.
Right, yeah. I wouldn't put him with any of the other factions.
Now, if he could fit into maybe like some sort of factional unit in America with New Japan Strong and kind of represent that faction in Japan, that might be a little different. But like, I just don't see him. The only group I could see him being a good fit into is United Empire.
Right. But with the way he wrestles, like, I think he'd be a great baby face, and I wouldn't want to stick him in a heel stable right now.
Oh, you think I think Leo Rush is 100% a heel all the time, and I think he's a terrible babyface. I think Leo Rush is the shit when it comes to babyface.
I think from like a match perspective, I guess maybe his style's a better babyface, but yeah, as far as promos and character, he's a better heel that way.
He can work babyface, and see, that's part of the issues. I think he works better as a baby, but his mannerisms, his facials, his speech, everything about him screams heel.
Money-tistic.
Cocky, arrogant heel. Yeah, he's money-tistic. So I mean, I don't know, and that's part of maybe some of what I have an issue with when it comes to Leo Rush. Is like he works better as a babyface, but everything about him screams heel. Yeah. I don't think he's kind of totally found that like, for instance, ELP does stuff that would traditionally be, within a babyface's repertoire, but he knows how to like throw enough heelish tendencies into there where no one's kind of gonna cheer that guy, really.
Right. This last question here, any thoughts on the reports of talks between NJPW and WWE about possibly on a working relationship, which would include Daniel Bryan, working some dates in New Japan? I feel like New Japan should be open relationship stage when it comes with working with these other companies. So we've pretty much talked about that. I don't know if you have any other final thoughts on that.
Hate it.
Hated it.
Hated it.
Well, I think that's going to wrap up our discussion on the WWE and New Japan working together rumors. Let's move on to some of the shows that have been happening in the last week. So after we recorded, we had the Road to Grand Slam, the last show on May 26th. Show opened up with returning Okada cutting a speech saying, he wants to be in the title picture, and the next time you see him, he'll be in his gear. Then we opened up with Shingo defeating Nyota Suji by ref decision, 11 minutes and 9 seconds. Really good opener there.
Yeah, that was out of these early shows, that's like probably one of the highlights for me, that match.
Yeah, and Shingo kind of busting out this, new submission to get the ref stoppage on Suji.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's kind of just a red herring. I don't think we've seen too many really successful submission finisher debuts in recent times. Like the last time I remember someone busting one out that's been like a difference maker is like maybe like when Ishimori started doing like the yes lock.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, a lot of, I don't know. I still got a bad taste in my mouth from the
money clip.
From the money clip.
Then we had Tanahashi, Tenzan, and Wato defeating Chase Owens, Taiji Ishimori, Yujiro Takahashi, 10 minutes 58 seconds. Then Gorilla Destiny defeated Doki and Zack Sabre Jr. Fourth match, semi-main event, we had Great Okan and Jeff Cobb defeating Kota Abushi and Tomioka Hanma. Been loving the interactions between Cobb and Abushi. I think their match coming up is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, Cobb he looks like he's on fire right now, man. Like he's at a different level, and I'm very excited for that match.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good match. And we did have a question here from Stale Burger Bun. How do you think NJPW will handle United Empire while Osprey is gone? Do they get pushed into the background until he comes back? Or does Great Okan or Cobb take over leadership?
I think we only see someone take over the role as leader in a definitive way, provided Will's not coming back. In the meantime, I think we've already sort of started to see Okan be the mouthpiece of the group, regardless of whether or not Osprey was the leader. And I expect that to kind of continue. I wouldn't mistake or assume that just because he's the one talking in these next few months that means he's the leader or anything like that, because that's kind of how it already was.
Right. Yeah, he was the Japanese speaker of the group.
But as far as like how they handle it, I just figure the group just kind of continues on until he's able to come back. Similar to how the Bull Club sort of operated last year while Jay White was stuck in the States.
Right, and there's still a bunch of stuff you can do with them after the Abushi food. You can do Cobb and Okan as a team against Dangerous Techers. You could do Cobb, Khan, and Hanare as a 6-man team. You can split those guys up into some single feuds. There's a lot of stuff you can do with those guys.
Yeah, the nice thing with United Empire that's beneficial to them in this situation is they're not a group filled with a lot of pin eaters, a lot of like cannon fodder, and meandering managers, things like that. Everyone has a very definitive place and role within the group and has spotlight on them right now. So there's a lot of feuds and purposes that you can kind of apply to them, regardless of whether Osprey's healthy and in the company still. So that's not really something I'm worried about at all. I mean, there's a lot you could be doing with those three guys.
Right. Then we had the main event of the evening, Sanada and Naito defeating Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi. Post-match, Naito calls out Yoshihashi to challenge for the Never 6-man titles. Then Bushi comes out. They jump Yoshihashi. Then Goto makes a save with the bow staff and accepts a challenge. It sets up the Never 6-man title match, which will be happening on tomorrow's Road to Dominion show.
Yeah, that should be pretty good, which will take us to the next day, Road to Dominion on June 1st, which was today.
Yep, so nice little Road to show here in Cork and Hall. Show opened up. We had a return of a lot of the people who were out from COVID. So first match opened up. We had Desperado, Suzuki, and Kanemaru defeating Roppongi 3K and Yuya Uemura. I thought all these guys were working really hard after coming back from being on the shelf here.
Yeah, so there was one elbow where Suzuki hit Sho with it, and Sho just like completely like just went stiff. I loved the sell off of it. Like everyone here looked good, and it's glad to see everyone healthy. There was confirmation that Desperado had COVID. Not only had it, but was like under intense like doctor care.
Right, had to go to the hospital. Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like he had it pretty bad, but everyone here looked great.
Yeah. Then we had the Bullet Club team of Chase, ELP back in Japan, Evil, and Taiji Ishimori defeating Tanahashi, Taguchi, Tiger Mask, and Hanma. Almost in a kind of return here of Team Taguchi Japan. We got the Taguchi Japan pose here. Taguchi calling the plays, but it was not good enough to beat the Bullet Club team here. Then we had the United Empire of Great Okan, Jeff Cobb defeating Kota Abushi and Nyota Suji. Also continuing that build there.
Yeah, the United Empire team's just been like running roughshod over Kodabushi and friends.
Kodabushi and Young Lions.
And the Cobb fucking Kabagoye.
Oh my!
I think.
Gosh, yeah, bro.
His Kabagoyes are he's murdering people.
I think they might be better than Abushi's.
They're much better than Abushi's. I wouldn't want to take it from him. I don't know if it's safe or not. It probably is, knowing how good he is, but like they look like they hurt so bad. They look like they're murder, like he's just obliterating people. So yeah, he's been hitting people with and for those of you who are wondering, I'm not saying Kamagoye. I'm saying Kabagoye.
Yes, the superior.
He's Kabagoying the fuck out of people.
Yeah, dude. If I were him, I'd be like, let's have a match where I win the finish, and that's my new finisher.
Nah, bro. He's like, look at me. Look at me. This is my move now. I'm the captain.
I'm the captain now. Oh man. Then semi-main event of the evening, we had hold on, my screen filled. Oh, here we go. Chaos. Goto.
I was like, I got it if you need it.
Yeah, my iPad freaked out for a second there. Chaos team of Goto, Okada, Ishii, and Yoshihashi defeating the LIJ team of Abushi, Sanada, Shingo, and Tetsuya Naito. So good seeing Okada and Shingo mix it up before their title match, and also good seeing Okada and Naito mix it up as well too.
I thought this was interesting, though, in the fact that the Chaos team are all champions, and the challengers got beat pretty soundly here.
Yeah, that is true. I wonder if that's kind of like a red herring for a title change in one of the two title matches.
I don't know what it means. Maybe it just means that, like, Bushi sucks. I don't know, man.
Yeah, the lone junior in the match. So then the main event of the evening, we had the IWGP Tag Team titles on the line. The Dangerous Tekkers, Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. defeat Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga, Tangaloa. We have new IWGP Tag Team champions. And the best news of all, we had the return of Miho Abe coming out here with Dangerous Tekkers. She was just in tears and emotional being back in Cork and Hall, being back by the side of her man Taichi and accompanying Dangerous Tekkers. What do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I have not got to this match yet. With yesterday being a holiday and today being a crazy day with work, I am aware of what happened. I heard the match was good, but I have not seen it yet. I saw your post on our Twitter account saying that the match was very good. The match they had at Wrestle Kingdom was, in my opinion, about a 4-star affair. So you're saying this is better than that. I've seen some people say it wasn't that good though. So I mean, what are your, what would your answer be to that? What did you like here? Give us the breakdown.
Yeah, so I think the thing I liked here about this match is it was pretty much straight, for the most part, straight wrestling. I mean, because they had Jado and Doki go to the back towards the beginning of the match. So you only had Miho Abe out there, which they did do a spot where Tama grabbed Miho Abe to bait Taichi in, which I didn't see any fans complaining online about. Tama, pretty much strangling Miho Abe, but. Anyway.
Well, that's because they're not in a relationship, so this wasn't domestic violence. This was just man-on-woman violence, which is different because in this context, he's a wrestler who's trained and she's not. And but he didn't hurt her. Well, I guess B didn't get hurt. I don't know. It's the same, right?
Right.
It's the same.
Yeah.
It's a show, right? It's the same. Okay.
But anyway, yeah, and then there wasn't too much shenanigans here in this match. They got the heat on Taichi, the beginning part of the match there. And then Sabre came in running wild. And there's a lot of great tag sequences. There was a lot of great near falls. There was a spot towards the end where Doki and Jao did come back in, but that was pretty quick. It wasn't too egregious. No ref bumps. And I thought GOD did do some cheating, but it was kind of some smart cheating, kind of distracting the ref, nothing out of this world, egregious there. And so, yeah, I thought it worked really well here. I thought both teams were working really hard. I love the interactions with Sabre and Tangaloa. And I think Tangaloa is a guy who just really needs to mix it up with some better wrestlers. He's been stuck in tag team matches forever. I think if you get Tangaloa in there with Goto or Ishii or some of these guys, I think he would definitely continue to improve. But yeah, overall good match here. Sabre gets the win here. That they hit the super kick Zack Driver combo on Tama Tonga. 1, 2, 3. Dangerous Tekkers get the win. Miho Abe gets draped with the gold. Zack Sabre post-match and in the backstage, he said that they're the best tag team in the world, best tag team in Japan, and since the borders aren't open, that they will challenge any team in Japan. So I wonder if we're going to see some cross-promotion within Japan. I wonder if we're going to get some kind of team from a different promotion coming in to face Dangerous Tekkers in the future.
Well, this is appropriate. Oscar Rooney just commented on Twitter. He said, "Sir, You didn't need to leave your initials. We knew who you were when you praised the match by having one of the qualities of that match be Miho Abe.
Well, I think we both love Mio Abe. I don't think that is specifically for me.
Oh no, bro, this is your gimmick. You don't realize it. You love Miho Abe like a lot more than I do.
I mean, I do. She's a very talented valet, very talented performer, a key component to the Dangerous Tekkers act. It just was not the same without her. If we had Mio Abe, maybe there wouldn't be any Iron Claw ladder match or any of that stuff. So. I'm glad she's back. Great performer, great asset to Dangerous Tekkers and Suzuki-gun.
Yeah, that's your that's your thing.
I think back to the Wrestle Kingdom match, and I'm thinking now maybe the Wrestle Kingdom match might be a little bit better because this match I'm thinking like 3.75, maybe 4. I haven't given my official rating on it yet, but. Very good main event, and it's something good to just have something different here on these Cork and Hall shows, and to have a match that meant something and that was built up, and just not kind of a random kind of throwaway match. And so, yeah, I was happy with the main event and happy with Dangerous Tekkers being the champions. I hope that we can go in a different direction now. Maybe bring Finjuice back in the company, or like Zach is saying, you bring in. Another team somewhere in Japan. I don't know, maybe you get Strong BJ or, Violent Giants to jump over or something to face off the Tekkers.
I don't know who is active and, good outside of New Japan in Japan. There was a tag match that happened in Noah that got a lot of praise this past year. I know Sakuraba was involved in it. But I really don't know, what team could come over. Realistically, I have no idea. So, I couldn't even begin to speculate on that. But the idea that the real Forbidden Door might get opened and New Japan might start working with, domestic groups again in some capacity, that would be really cool.
Yeah, we talked about
I don't know if that's going to happen, but.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any freelancers out there that it's a freelance team, but we talked about, it'd be cool for New Japan to utilize some of the freelancers or some of these guys from other promotions to kind of help get some fresh matchups and, bulk up the roster that way.
So here's the match I was referring to. I looked it up on Cage Match. It's actually for 2021 the highest rated Noah match of the year, so it's probably great. It's Masa Kitamiya and Katsuhiko Nakajima against Kazushi Sakuraba and Takashi Sagura. It's got an 8.76, and it's got a lot of 10 votes. So I think Nakajima and Kitamiya are about to have a cage match, hair versus hair.
I think, did Zach just post that in the Spoiler Club thread about that?
I think so. Although, to be fair, the name of that group is not Spoiler Hunter thread. It is the QAnon Hunter thread. QAnon Hunter Club.
But yeah, so
it's Nakajima, and then the other guy, I don't know, maybe it's Kitamiya. It could be somebody else, I don't know.
But
hard to say.
Yeah, either way, it'd be cool to get some a great domestic tag team to mix it up with Dangerous Tekkers.
They don't do cage matches in Noah. That I think maybe they've done one other one that I could think of, but yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So moving on here, so there will be a show, Road to Dominion, June 2nd. So by the time you're listening to us, it would have probably already happened or is happening when you're listening to this. So the card for that show, we have Tanahashi, Hanma, Suji, and Yamura against Evil, Chase Owens, Taiji Shimori, and ELP. Then we'll have Roppongi 3K and Taguchi against Despy, Kanemaru, and Doki. Third matchup, we'll have Dangerous Tekkers and Suzuki against GOD and Jado. Semi-main event, we'll have Kota Abushi and Master Wato against Jeff Cobb and the Great Okan. And then the main event of this Road to Dominion show will be the never openweight six-man tag titles on the line. Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, and Yoshihashi defend against Naito, Sonata, and Bushi. Young boy, do you think we're going to see new never openweight six-man champs?
I think there's definitely a possibility. I mean, LIJ is a really big component and part of New Japan, and they don't seem to have immediate plans for them. And with considering the lengthy run that Chaos has had, I don't see why not.
Right, yeah, they've held the titles much longer than we're normally used to seeing. Usually those titles are being hot potatoed around. And Naito and Sonata really haven't been doing anything. They haven't really been locked in feuds. I mean, Naito just got done feuding with the Great Okan a few months ago, but really hasn't been doing anything since that. So, I think switching the titles to LIJ could be a good move here. But they do have Bushi on their side, though. So I don't
have much more to add to that.
I think I'm going to go with LIJ or with Chaos retaining, though. I think they're just going to hold the belts forever.
Maybe.
So there was supposed to be a Road to Dominion show Friday on June 4th, but that show has been canceled. The show was to take place at the Ota City General Gymnasium in Tokyo. New Japan announced on their website that due to the extension of the state of emergency in Tokyo related to COVID-19 pandemic, the event would not take place. So that Road to is canceled, which brings us to Dominion, which Dominion did have a date change as well. Dominion originally scheduled for Sunday, June 6th, being moved to Monday, June 7th, due to the restrictions that are in Osaka. They don't really want weekend events happening in the city. So New Japan, obviously listening to the government, Dominion moved to Monday, June 7th. 3 big matchups announced here for Dominion. We have the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title on the line. Desperado defends against Yo. We have Kota Abushi versus Jeff Cobb. And then we have the fate of the IWGP World Heavyweight title. The vacant title will be up on the line. The Dragon, Shingo Takagi, will take on the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada.
So this match will this show have already happened? This is happening Sunday?
It's happening on Monday now. Originally scheduled for Sunday, and now it's happening on Monday.
Okay. So, wow. So this is our preview show before it happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Holy crap. Part of me kind of wishes that they would have done the never open weight and tag title matches on this show, because now it seems like, based on what we know, we're probably going to end up with these 3 big matches and then a lot of like multi-man matches on the undercard, which I guess is fine.
Yeah, we'll probably just get like two multi-man tags.
Yeah. But I understand why they probably did that, because with the restrictions and everything like that right now, I mean, even if they loaded up the show, how much more are they going to draw versus what they could have potentially attempted to recoup by at least having meaningful main events for these last 2 Road to Dominion shows. So I get what they're doing, so that's fine. I mean, do you want to go through these matches match by match real quick? I mean, what do you want to do here?
Yeah, let's go match by match, give our prediction and thoughts. So first off, junior title match, Despi and Yo, obviously, which was supposed to happen a while back, but it's happening now.
Yeah, it's happening now, but because these guys were off the tour, there was issues with like COVID and things like that, quarantining. This just feels like an incredibly cold match to me personally. That being said, I think Desperado's winning here, especially given the fact that Sho and Yo are now the junior tag team champions once again. It is unfortunate because Yo and Desperado had a lot of momentum built up in previous months heading into the title match that they were going to have. And right now it just feels very cold, but I'm hoping that the match really delivers.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think Desperado is going to retain here. They try their best to try and heat this thing up on today's Road 2 show. I'm sure they're going to try and do some stuff on tomorrow's Road 2 show as well. But like you mentioned, yeah, it's just coming in cold. And I don't think kind of a flash title change here is the right call. I would keep it on Despi here.
Next match, which will probably be the semi-main event, Kodabushi versus Jeff Cobb. This is probably the match with the best build, or definitely the best build, unless you consider the history between the two challengers in the main event. But as far as like personal issues go, this is the match that's kind of out there right now. It's sort of a crossroads match for both guys, 'cause, this feud started after Abushi dropped the title to Will Osprey a couple months back, hasn't really done anything of note since then. Sort of been dealing with an injury and been losing on undercard tag matches to Cobb and friends. So on the flip side, Jeff Cobb has sort of made a name for himself by joining the Empire, but has yet to really have a big, major, definitive win in this group. He's had some wins, but he hasn't really beat a top name in New Japan yet as a member of the United Empire. And so this could potentially be his coming out party. And it's a big deal too, especially considering, the state New Japan's in with talent and relations and, kind of the power vacuum that's there. So I think there's a huge opportunity for both guys. And I really don't know which way I'm leaning. Like, logic would tell me Abushi probably needs the comeback victory, but I'm also like, maybe you can make something out of Jeff Cobb here. Maybe, but then at what expense, how much does that hurt Abushi,
Yeah, I don't think a loss to Cobb here would hurt Abushi that much. I think Ibushi's pretty established, and if I had the book, I would go with Jeff Cobb winning here, create a new monster gaijin, create somebody that can challenge for the title. I think he could challenge the winner of Shingo or Okada. I think either or. There's history between both sets of guys there that you could run Cobb against either one of those guys.
Here's the thing with Abushi. Abushi is established at a certain level, but I think they made a big attempt this year to put him into a new, stratosphere,
Yeah.
And I don't think that really happened. I think he kind of just stayed at the same level, and the whole, him being a god thing didn't really play out the way that maybe he planned or whoever came up with that storyline really planned. So I am wondering if after sort of being seen as a failed champion to some degree, him suffering another loss right off the heels of that might be detrimental, or maybe that's part of a long play. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go with Ibushi because I think that that's your traditional New Japan style booking, but I'd be happier to see Jeff Cobb kind of pick up the big W here.
Right, and I think there's a compelling story to tell of Cobb winning, and you can kind of sell maybe, Ibushi he came back too early, and it's kind of part of his kind of, tragedy story that they tell, and then he kind of continues to have to build his way up and get some redemption, and then which will lead to some kind of big match at the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Kingdom.
The other thing too, that's an interesting point. I mean, you've got these two big shows, if they even are still happening, coming up, and it's like this might be a de facto number one contender match, and part of me feels like Cobb might not be a bad opponent for whoever wins the title. Either way, like I think on paper that looks great, but Ibushi's got history with both challengers and has had fantastic matches with both of them in big spots, and that's kind of the other reason I'm thinking like they might go with Old Faithful. In situations like this, New Japan just tends to be more cautious and reserved than anything else.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, man. Can you imagine like Okada Cobb? That to me sounds like a really cool, fun, exciting, title challenge. So I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds fun. If it's Cobb Shingo, we saw what they did at Wrestle Kingdom this year. Run it back for the title in a big main event. That would be excellent as well.
Right. Which is going to take us to the main event, the IWGP World Heavyweight title match between the Dragon Shingo Takagi taking on the Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada.
So what do you think about this just kind of being the announced title match? No tournament, no play-in matches, no eliminator, no qualifying matches, just picking these two guys here.
Well, we talked about it last week, and I said quite as much. I said that they probably didn't have enough time to do anything. If they did, it needed to be a one-night tournament. And we've already seen some quasi one-night tournaments on these Tokyo Dome shows that sort of negate that idea from even being plausible. If it was me, I think I still might go with the one-night tournament, especially considering, look, right now we've got 3 matches announced. And I feel like you could have maybe done something a little bit more exciting, included some of the names that we mentioned last week, had some compelling matches, but they're not going that way. So with that being said, I'm not excited for this match. Anyone who listened to the show last week knows my reasoning, because as I mentioned, Shingo just came off of 2 really big losses back to back, and if he loses again, that's a third, and I don't think the optics of that are great for him.
Yeah, and obviously from a kind of kayfabe perspective, it's like, yeah, he just lost the New Japan Cup Finals. He lost a straight up title match that was clean, and now he's getting the next title shot against a guy who's already in line to get a title shot. So from that perspective, it does look kind of weird. But obviously, we've seen what Okada and Shingo can do together. They have great matches, so it's going to be a great main event.
Well, the funny thing is, I'm never as high on those matches as everyone else is.
I know, yeah. You're always the low man of those.
I don't know why. I just, they're good, but I'm just not into Okada and Shingo for some reason, even though I want to be. I like last year at the G1 was like my most anticipated match, and then I was a little disappointed. I don't know,
man. I love the matches. I love the G1 match. I love the New Japan Cup match. But yeah, but I kind of get what New Japan's doing here. Obviously, you have Okada, the guy that was already in line for the championship match, and then Shingo, the last guy that was in a championship match. And even though he lost, still very popular. I feel like his stock was elevated with that match from Will Osprey, and so probably just the guy in their mind makes more sense to go against Okada. And so I think it'll be a great matchup, interesting title match here. And yeah, I mean, we've heard the rumors that the plan was to give the belt to Okada, have him beat Will, and then go from there. But, I mean, is there a chance here for Shingo to win the title, especially after he just is coming off of 2 big losses?
Listen, he beat Okada clean back in February, March during the New Japan Cup. I just don't see him beating him clean right now for the title. I mean, think about it. If he beat him twice back to back, that's sort of, hinting at a story that he's got Okada's number. Can you imagine them telling a story that Shingo's the guy that has Okada's number? I don't see them telling that story at all.
Yeah, I mean, previously how Shingo's been booked, I wouldn't say that, but the fact lately, I feel like they're trying to elevate him to that kind of upper main event level, and maybe this is a way to do it.
I'm very confident that they are planning to bring him up to that upper level, but slowly and not like not in this manner. I mean, is it possible? Anything's possible. And if it does happen, I would be pleasantly surprised and a little bit shocked. I don't see it happening. I'm not anticipating it whatsoever. If it was me and I was betting money, I'd bet the house on Okada right now. That's how strongly I feel about it.
Yeah, I'm going with you there. I love Shingo, and I would love to see him win the world title here. But yeah, I'm going with Okada as well. Like we talked about last week, when business down, you put the belt on the ace, you put the belt on your moneymaker, your top guy. So I definitely see, putting the belt here on Okada, kind of having him, back on the throne here and help New Japan in this very tough time when they're kind of struggling financially and need as many people in the buildings that they can fill up. And so obviously having Okada on top will help with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just basically threw the top 2 guys that they had into the title match and just said, fuck it, because everything got ruined anyways. And that's the way they're going. And, we've heard the reports that the plans had been for Okada to win the title from Osprey anyways. So I don't see them deviating from that. Although it's felt in the past, like when reports like that have come out, that they've audibled. So yeah, they could audible to Shingo. I don't see it. I think they're going with Okada. He's they're tested, they're tried and true, and they're going to go with him and move forward.
Yeah. And also not a bad call, especially from a business perspective. And there's still, obviously Okada's still a phenomenal wrestler, one of the best in the world. And there's some great main events you could do with him as the world champ. So we had some questions on this matchup. First from Red User Viking Pain. If Shingo eats a loss to Okada for the world title, will that officially make him the next Hiroki Goto?
No, but it's not a good optic. It's not a good look. And down the line, could that be the foundation for something of that nature? Yeah.
Right, because currently Goto and Suzuki are tied, right, for the most failing, or is Goto ahead?
Goto's the most, and then Suzuki's next. And here's the thing. There have been people that have failed as much or more, but they all won the title. You know, this is more of a stat for people that have challenged multiple times in failing and never won that belt.
Right. So yeah, I agree with you there. You know, losing again, a third big main event's not the best thing for Shingo. And if he doesn't eventually win, yeah, then he falls into that Hiroki Goto, Minoru Suzuki category of getting several title shots but just never being able to win the big one.
Yeah, but they've had a lot more. I mean, we're talking 7 or 8 as opposed to he would be at his second title challenge and fail. That's pretty standard for most guys that are, you know, eventual championship winners. It's very rare that anybody wins it on their first shot. You know, I know there have been a few occasions where that's taken place, but it's really rare.
Yeah. Next set of questions here from Steven Waiteka. If Shingo loses and this goes to 3, would he be dead? You can't get heat to make him title worthy.
I don't think he's dead, but I mean, it's 3 big losses back to back to back. Maybe they feel very confident about his connection with the crowd and the fan base and the performances that he puts in, that he's sort of like fail-proof in this moment, and maybe they think it won't hurt him too bad. And there could be some truth to that. I'm not even denying that that's the case. I just kind of feel like, man, I don't know, you know?
Yeah, it's just a tricky thing. Yeah, I just feel like it's not the best situation here for Shingo. Because then where do you go with him afterwards? You kind of have to rebuild him and recoup him a little bit after this if he's going to lose. Kind of have to drop I don't even know who he would go against next, but
okay, I've got the list here. Most failed IWGP challenges. Chono had 13 total. Nagata 7, Tenzan 7, Nakamura 10, Tanahashi 7, Minoru Suzuki 7, and Goto at 8. So, you know, the first 5 guys I listed had a lot of failed challenges. Look at that. Tanahashi, 7 losses. Nakamura, 10. But, you know, these are guys that won the title. You know, I think Chono was the most, 13 before he ever won it. And he only held it for like a month and then had to drop it. He never won it again. But for active wrestlers that have, you know, who are in those kind of numbers, who've never won it, Goto and Suzuki are the top 2.
Yeah, but like you mentioned, it's only number 2 challenge here for Shingo, and so there's still plenty of time for him to eventually win the title. So we'll see what they do with him.
I am really looking forward to the match regardless, though. And, you know, I think it'll be interesting to see what this audience, this atmosphere is like, considering everything that's been going on in New Japan. This is the first really big show we've had in a little while here. And the whole trajectory and the environment, the feeling of the company has changed quite a bit just in a month. So,
yeah, Osaka has traditionally been one of the better clap crowds during the pandemic, and I know, you know, Reddit user PCN91, I think he's going to be going to at least one of the Road 2 shows. I'm not sure if he's going to Dominion also, so we might kind of get some, you know, feels of what's going on in Osaka. But we'll see if, with the state of emergency, I don't even know what the capacity for Osaka Joe Hall will be for Dominion, so it'll be interesting to see, kind of what crowd size and the energy is for that show. So Steven also asks, which do you think will be better to get heat and push for next if Okada wins? Abushi, Kenta, Cobb, or bring Mox back in?
I don't know. I feel like right now I would go with Jeff Cobb because he's looking like an animal. He's part of the group where the former champion, had to vacate the title. He's had some big wins, and if he beats Abushi, that kind of puts him firmly in the number one spot. Plus, I like Kenta and I like Mox, but it's right there in the minds of the fans. If he's in the semi-main event and picks up that big win, it sort of qualifies him. And I think that's very easy, simple, basic booking, and I feel like the match would be really exciting.
Yeah, and it's a fresh world title matchup. Jeff Cobb's first time challenging for the big belt in New Japan, so I think it'll be a fresh program, interesting matchup there. So yeah, I would personally agree, go with Cobb, but obviously the Okada Mox match will have to happen at some point. We've seen him against Kenta, and obviously we know him and Abushi have great chemistry as well in big main events. But yeah, I would go with Cobb here, something fresh, something new. Then last question here, Down Homie 101. So Shingo wrestling Okada for the vacant IWGP World Heavyweight Championship at this year's Dominion event. Do you guys think it's finally time to pull the trigger on Shingo as IWGP World Heavyweight Champion? In my honest opinion, I think Shingo should walk out of Dominion as the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. I think the company needs to hit the reset button, and Shingo is that reset button. Also, Okada's back is fucked up, and I think the company should be protecting Okada.
Just my opinion. I think, I don't know how bad Okada's back even really is. We've talked about it at great lengths on this show about times where individuals, like Tanahashi specifically is one of them. Naito's another guy where they work their injuries. The injuries are real, but for the purpose of maybe sympathy or storytelling, or there's a lot of beneficial reasons why they might embellish the what's it called?
The kind of like make the injury worse than it is.
Yeah, the injury. I kept thinking of the word surgery. I don't know why. Yeah, injuries that they have. And what did they say about, what was the rumor that he had 3 crushed vertebrae?
Yeah, it looks like slip disc in his back. And,
yeah, slip discs. I mean, that's like really, 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 really fucking serious if that's what it is. But I don't know, from what I think we've been told, like that's sort of an embellishment. Not to say he's not banked up, but that man probably wouldn't be walking if he had slip discs. So
apparently, yeah, it's kind of like he's following the Tanahashi playbook.
Exactly.
You have a quote unquote crazy injury, and then you take some time off, you come back, and then that body part is the target for your match. And now I'm sure Shingo will attack the back in this match and do a lot of targeting of the back. Yeah,
no doubt. Now, as far as like Shingo, I really don't want Shingo to win here, and the reason being, it's not that I don't want Shingo to win the title, and it's not that I don't feel like the company doesn't need a reset. But when you say a reset, in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, they do need a reset. They need a reset to the champion that's made them the most money and been the most stable and lucrative provider in the last decade, which is Kazuchika Okada. I don't think times like this are times where you kind of gamble with a guy in Shingo's position who, while popular, is older and not a proven draw the way that Okada is. Okada is a proven commodity. He is the ace of the company for a reason. I feel like Shingo deserves a potential title run and elevation, and I don't think that this would be the showcase where you do something like that. I know traditionally Dominion seems like a big show, but given the nature of the clap crowds and everything like that, I just don't feel like it would actually elevate him. We saw how, and I know it's not a 1-for-1 comparison, but we see where Evil is right now when they try to elevate him in the middle of a pandemic like that on a, what was it? It was Dominion, right?
Yeah, he beat Okada.
Yeah, it was just a year ago, and it didn't really work out that well. I know it's a different animal and different situation, but I'm just feeling like if you're going to go that way with him, you need to do it in front of a full crowd. You need to do it when it matters, when it's been built up, when the heat's right. when the feeling's right. And this doesn't feel right to me at all. It feels like it's just thrown together. And if he were to just win it, it would be like, what's New Japan doing? Oh, okay, Shingo's champion. All right, like, which is kind of a little bit what it felt like when Will won. It didn't feel like Will winning was as big of a deal as it should have been. I feel like they tried that already, and it went south. So I think they just need to go with Okada for the time being.
Yeah, and you made an interesting point there that with Okada being the reset, because they have been trying some different stuff. You mentioned it. They put the belt on Evil, they put the belt on Abushi, they put the belt on Osprey. 3 guys that have never been champion before, and so yeah, now it's time, like you mentioned, time to go back to Old Faithful. I mean, the books.
Bro, if Okada was smart, he could cut such an incredible promo about that. You guys try to go with the rest, but they always come back to the Rainmaker.
Yep. And yeah, he is the Rainmaker, and the books are looking bad right now. They need him to help with bring some cash in, help draw as much as they can in these buildings.
I heard Naito sold the most shirts of anyone in the company. I heard he got the biggest pops. Where is he now? How about it?
How about it now?
Abushi, I heard you was a god. But I saw you doing a job.
Oh, man.
He's like, Evil can't do it for you. Will Osprey can't do it for you. There's only one. That's Okada, the Rainmaker.
Mm-hmm. and then also too, I think with Okada as champion, also if Osprey comes back, that story is right there. Osprey, the champion who never really lost a title, facing off the
guy he turned on.
Yeah, guy he turned on, the guy who has a title, the match that was supposed to happen at Wrestle Grand Slam, like a perfect story there.
The Tokyo Dome rematch. There's a lot there if they end up going that way. And also, Okada's someone that you can draw well with and have compelling matches throughout the year leading back into the Tokyo Dome, which as I've said on this show, guys, I've always thought that the plan for this year was for Naito to win the G1 and for us to go back into the Tokyo Dome with an Okada Naito rematch. And I'm pretty sure that's where we're heading.
Yeah, and that probably makes the most sense, especially with them. We have no idea how long the state of emergency and how things are going to look with the pandemic, but they're probably not going to be able to have a full capacity for the Dome again. And so, obviously, Okada Naito is not a fresh main event, so you don't have to worry about, blowing a fresh new main event, and it's going to draw, and that dynamic will be, Naito will be the challenger again, but still, the IWGP World titles on the line. They're still popular. It could still draw. I think it would be perfect for, a limited capacity Tokyo Dome.
Well, let's move on to that's going to do it for our review. Let's move on to the New Japan Pro Wrestling of America portion of the show with new NJPW Strong number 42, Collision 2021 Night 4. This was May 28th. We started the show off with Clark Connors defeating AJZ, 9 minutes, 38 seconds. Yeah, I thought this was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought AJZ looked better here than he did in the Rocky match. I thought he was a little bit more aggressive here. Clark looked great as well. Really liking the development of Clark here, going forward. Not a big fan of kind of the finish he had here, kind of like a spin out kind of powerbomb thing.
They're workshopping it. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Next match of the night, El Phantasmo defeated Wheeler Yuta, 14 minutes, 6 seconds. This is the second time we've seen Wheeler Yuta?
Yes.
So kind of a showcase here against El Phantasmo. I thought this was pretty good. I thought Wheeler Yuta looked good. Phantasmo, being the dick and heel that he normally is, picks up the win, 14 minutes. He's kind of having sort of a standout year, making the best he can of a terrible situation, great showings in New Japan and then over here in Strong, and then the shots he did over in Impact, kind of all over the place.
Yeah, and absolutely hilarious, trying to get the crowds, the empty crowd to clap and just doing the stuff to get heat. Just being so obnoxious and such a douchebag just helps his character so much. And yeah, I thought Yuta looked really good here. I think Yuta's the guy they should try and kind of get locked up for. Strong, great technical wrestler. can do some high flying, and I think would be a guy that once borders open up will be a great addition to Super Juniors as well.
And then the main event, the match that I think everyone wants to hear about, the New Japan Strong Openweight title match, as Filthy Tom Lawler, along with Team Filthy, Danny Limelight and Jared Kratos, defeated Chris Dickinson to retain the NJPW Strong Openweight title. 21 minutes, 16 seconds, the longest match in Strong history.
Yeah, I thought this main event was awesome. Like you mentioned, longest match in Strong history. I think it's probably the best match in Strong history. They've been normally keeping their main events or just matches in general not too long, pretty short. Also, we haven't had anything crazy long, but I think with the style that Lawler and Dickinson wrestle, it works in empty arena and it works this match length. It's definitely more of a fight feel. We saw a lot of grappling, a lot of strikes, a lot of submission, kind of Bloodsport-esque kind of matchup here, and really, really enjoyed it. A lot of great striking exchange, a lot of great submission exchanges here.
Yeah, I thought this was really fantastic. I thought these guys worked really well together. They've wrestled, I believe, in Beyond in the past. That match is very good, but this had a different feeling to it. There was a lot of personal emotion mixed in just because the betrayal, them kind of excommunicating Chris Dickinson from the group. Great mix of pure wrestling and then pure striking. Although Chris Dickinson lost, he really looked like a beast, kind of in defeat. And, Tom Lawler kind of adds another notch to his resume. The early parts of the match, they were a little bit slower, but they were so technically great that I kind of forgave that. But once they started opening up and throwing the live rounds, man, they were really, 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 really snug, hard hitting. The only thing I would maybe criticize a little bit was somewhat the lack of selling there. But I don't think this was that kind of match. I think the idea was to sort of simulate, like you mentioned, a fight, and it had almost like an MMA-esque feel to it. So while there wasn't over the top outlandish selling, it was almost like an accumulation of damage that sort of played into the finish here.
Yeah, and several great near submissions with the rear naked choke. Filthy just kept trying and trying and trying to get that rear naked choke on, and either Dickinson would reverse or he'd get to the ropes. He would pull kind of the Bret Hart pin where you kind of roll back and get the pinfall. So lots of great counters. Dickinson obviously had the rear naked scouted and was trying different ways to get out of that. Hitting a nasty Death Valley driver at one point in the match was good. Also, there was a small distraction here from Limelight and Kratos, but he was able to kind of knock those guys off. Brody King came out and fought Kratos to the back, and he took out Dane Limelight to kind of continue the match there.
Yeah, and my criticism about the selling wasn't 100% accurate. There was some leg selling from Chris where they were Filthy sort of focused in on that. That also was a big component of the story here. But yeah, back and forth action, very, very stiff, super exciting. The last few minutes I thought they were up there with just about any other match in New Japan this year as far as drama and excitement. In front of a crowd, this match would have been even better. I don't know that I loved this better than Narita and Chris Dickinson, but it's right up there. I mean, it's up there with that match. It's up there with Mox and Kenta. New Japan Strong is really delivering this year. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, they're on fire right now. All they need now is a crowd, which might happen pretty soon. We're seeing crowds come back to shows here in the U.S., so maybe they can get some fans into that studio, which would be pretty cool.
How did you feel at the end? I mean, I think we were both kind of expecting Filthy to win. I mean, did they ever get you to kind of start believing in Dirty Daddy here, or did you kind of just expect Filthy to pick up the win the whole way?
I pretty much kind of expected Filthy to pick up the win, but I mean, I was kind of bothered with just how many times he kept reversing the rear naked choke and just how
right.
And Filthy was just not getting it in. So at first I was thinking, maybe Filthy would debut a new finish, or maybe Dickinson's just gonna pull an upset here and just get the win. But yeah, the closing stretch was great, like you mentioned, busting out a lot of big moves. Like Lawler busted out the Tenzon Tombstone driver. He's hitting a lot of big exploders. A lot of great suplexes. He did a sleeper suplex at one point towards the end, which was awesome, which eventually set up for him to get the rare naked choke and to put Dirty Daddy away. And then in the post-match, we had Carl Fredericks confronting Lawler in the backstage promo, talk about how he eliminated him in the 8-man elimination match and how he's gunning Lawler. So like we talked about last week, it looks like we're setting up for Tom Lawler against Carl Fredericks for the next Strong title match, whenever that might be.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's like the first really big, authentic opportunity for one of these LA Dojo, graduates. So, that will be a big showcase show, match. I don't know that we've really seen the best that Carl has to offer just yet. I mean, we've seen flashes of it.
Yeah,
but
I feel like the injury really kind of cut off his momentum. I feel like he was really kind of getting into his groove and, getting some good matches in, and then the injury kind of derailed him and he was kind of off TV for a while. So, yeah, I think he's kind of pinging back some momentum here.
Yeah, but this will be an opportunity to kind of display what's really there. And I love that for these last two title matches, they've really given it a huge stage and big fight feel. And the idea that that's kind of going to be what this title represents for the show going forward is something I could definitely get behind. So I'm excited for that, quite a bit.
Yeah, they're doing VTRs, hype packages, some interviews, some promos, and then, big fight feel, big presentation, making the title very important. Yeah, I'm loving what they're doing here.
Awesome. So next week, the Road to Ignition 2021 starts. TJP will be wrestling Kevin Knight in the opener. Second match of the night, Adrian Quest against Barrett Brown. This match is sort of a play off the story that Barrett Brown has been unable to get the W in his time with New Japan Strong, and Adrian Quest, his former partner, he turned on him, so it's sort of a grudge match there.
Yep.
Kind of crossroads match for Barrett Brown. And then the main event is very exciting, as we will be seeing the leader of the Bread Club, the strongest lariat, Satoshi Kojima, teaming up with Carl Fredericks to take on Team Filthy, JR Kratos, and Danny Limelight, which Kojima has been making the rounds, doing some impact shots. Now he's here on Strong. That's something I'm really looking forward to. I know you are.
Yeah, very excited. My man, Satoshi Kojima, showing up here in Strong. Gonna be cool, man. Yeah, I'll see these guys coming to the U.S. along with working Impact or AEW. They're getting on Strong, so it's very cool to get somebody like, we had Nagata, now Kojima here, and I'll see kind of teaming up with Fredericks here in the battle with Team Filthy. I'm hoping this leads to maybe Kojima versus JR Kratos in a singles match during the Ignition tour. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so a few questions here related to Strong. First here from Marcus Fay. This says, are there any wrestlers on NJPW Strong that you would like to see be signed full-time?
Well, I mean, we don't know who is and who is not signed, to a deal. But I mean, the ones that just stick out to me, and I feel like we get this question a lot, but Tom Lawler, Chris Dickinson, obviously Leo Rush, if he may already be signed. We haven't heard or seen from him in a bit, but if he is still active and involved, ACH.
Yeah.
Those are the big four for me right out the gate.
Yeah, I mean, those are the top workers, the top guys. Yeah, those are definitely the four you want locked down to a contract if possible. How do you feel about Mysterioso? You think he's...
I like Mysterioso a lot. And I see a lot of promise in him, but I don't know if that's someone that they're planning to keep around long term or not.
Right, because even pre-pandemic, I mean, he's been one of the first New Japan America guys, and he has not been in Japan yet. So,
yeah, I'm looking at the personnel list here. I mean, they've got a good list of guys, but for those that I'm like, man, we need to have them. I think Jared Kratos could be a good signing. Mysterioso could too, but I'm not like the highest on them. Like they need to be signed or anything like that. Yeah, I mean the 4 I listed are probably my main 4. Depending on what his contract status is with ROH, I would throw Brody King in there.
Yeah, that's a good one. Next question here from Wiz Factor. Is it possible that NJPW Strong will have shouting crowds before the Japanese shows do? If so, I'd like to see both of you take the over-under bets on how many months it will take before the Japanese shows catch up to the American shows.
I'm a little confused by that question. What?
So he's saying, how long do you think that will New Japan Strong have like crowds that can actually
before Japan? Yeah, I think they definitely could.
Yeah, I mean, like we say, we're seeing things open up. AEW they're having full crowds now in certain cities. WWE is going back on the road. Ring of Honor is getting ready to have fans for Best in the World. MLW, they're going to the ECW arena. They're having fans. So we're seeing pretty much every promotion right now in North America are gearing up and getting ready to have fans. So even NWA, they're getting ready to have fans for their pay-per-view that's coming up. So I think that we will probably see fans maybe pretty soon for New Japan Strong in that little studio that they're working in. Get some fans in there. That'd be cool. And, I mean, obviously, where people are getting vaccinated here, there's not a lot of restrictions as far as, like, we never had restrictions on, like, fans not being able to shout or whatever, make chants. So
I'm just thinking here. When is the Olympics?
I don't even know when isn't it like July or August?
We're like 3 months out from it. It's gonna go from July to August. I'm gonna say, and this is a really, in my opinion, and I'm not an expert, but just based off the information we have, and I think I'm being pretty generous here. The earliest I could imagine them possibly having clap crowds, the earliest, and this would, if they did this, it would be a miracle. Maybe January. Maybe 6 months from now. But realistically, I'll just tell you, these lockdowns don't work because they're not able to fully 100% completely lock down the population and lock down all incoming and outgoing individuals. And for that reason, COVID is a highly contagious disease. It's going to continue to spread no matter what kind of, measures they put in place. And the reason they're putting these measures in place is Olympics related. It's not going to stop it. It's just not. It might limit the spread, but it is coming at a price. I mean, there are a lot of, things that we saw this past year with like work situations, job situations, schooling, mental health, physical health, monetary well-being. All these different things are also important considerations. The reality is, like, in countries where they were able to shut everything down, like New Zealand, Australia, they murked this thing. But like Japan can't do that at this point. It's been over a year. The monkey's out of the bag. What is going to help and what is going to work is the thing that's been proven to work in other countries, and that's a vaccine. And they have, in some cases, limited access to it, and then in other cases, culturally, people don't take vaccines there, from what I understand. So right now, I think they're at like 6% vaccinated, which is not great considering the Olympics is 3 months out. And, you got to imagine, I know they're going to have a lot of safety protocols in place, but you got to imagine how that might also contribute to a continued spread. Hypothetically, it may or may not, depending. But with no indication that anything of note is going to happen between now and January to actually stop the spread and to stop, the fear and, the death and everything like that. I mean, there's no reason to think that we're getting clap crowds anytime in the near future. And I know that's
chanting crowds?
Yeah, chanting crowds. And bro, the way we're going, like we're getting diminished crowds more and more as time goes on. So
Right. I mean, I feel like we're going backwards.
we are going backwards. And it's not all about us and our enjoyment of the product. I mean, that's the least of anything. But, since that's what we're discussing, that is what it is. I could see it being pushed out even further than 6 months. I could see it being pushed out to 8 months, 10 months, a year before they're where they need to be, which is unfortunate because the country actually handled Corona, relatively speaking, very well early on. But I mean, at this point, the only answer for her to obtain herd immunity is a vaccination. They need to get vaccinated. And that is just the reality of the situation for them and their country.
With the Tokyo Dome being used as a vaccination center in August, I'm hoping that kind of opens the door there for a lot of people to get vaccinated and get some mass vaccinations there.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I hope so. Next question, Dom Homie 101 asked us, what would be an ideal crossover match between New Japan Strong and New Japan? I think Kodabushi versus Chris Dickinson would be an interesting match.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a great matchup. One comes to the top of my head, I would love to see Chris Dickinson against Tomohiro Ishii.
Yeah, that's a great call. I don't even know, man. I think it's kind of I wish I would have prepared something for this match. Let me see here. One other name that he's also with ROH, but I really like Bateman a lot.
Yeah.
That's another one. Ideal match. I don't know. Lio Rush versus Hiromu Takahashi.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I think that's a match a lot of people want to see.
Yeah. So moving on to last few news updates here before we get to questions and recommended match of the week. So just quick update on Will Osprey. Also, we haven't really heard anything official on kind of what's going on with him. He has been tweeting a lot, though. He had a tweet about 6 days ago saying that he has Dr. Pablo to the house. After further digging, he's now being referred to another MRI on his lower back, as well as for fears that he might have the same issue in his neck. His things ain't looking good, but I'm determined to come back this year. Thanks for all support. So kind of seeming like he might have a back issue as well. And then he's also just kind of been like retweeting and tweeting a lot of stuff about New Japan. So it doesn't really seem like maybe he's upset with the company or that he's leaving.
Well, I mean, the one thing that, and again, this is just kind of my speculating, but we talked about how like there might have been an acrimonious issue when he left, but that didn't mean that that he was done with the company was done with him necessarily. I think there's a lot of validity to the story just based on the amount of sources that have kind of corroborated some of those known facts and details. But it doesn't mean like the partnership or the business side of things is kind of done. We talked last week about how, the company kind of went out of their way to explain, kind of take the heat off of him a bit and be like, he had to vacate due to, injuries, and that's, potentially a way to kind of like explain away the situation, get ahead of the story before any kind of story came out. And then on his end, kind of keeping things smooth, just posting a lot about New Japan. That's going to kind of, without addressing the story directly, it kind of lets the public know, like, hey, this is the public face we're putting on it. This is where we stand, which is a good thing if that's the case. One thing I think is interesting, though, it's kind of funny. Will posted stories and, has posted online about his physical situation. One thing I will say, this is one thing I was not aware of, and I think we should maybe possibly retract a little bit. Just a couple days prior to his vacating the title, he was on the Two Man Power Trip podcast and had said publicly that he was still in a relationship with B. Priestley. So that was something that I had heard otherwise. Although, you know, things change. So maybe, you know, the reports or the speculation that's out there could still be valid. But according to his public statement from just a few days prior to all this stuff breaking a couple weeks ago, they were still very much in a relationship, you know? So I think for the time being, you can kind of take that off the table. But, you know, he posted this stuff about his injuries, and automatically you hear so many people being like, oh, see, that disproves everything that everyone's been saying, you know, can't believe the fear mongers, you know, the liars, blah, blah. And I'm like, that doesn't disprove anything. In fact, it corroborates exactly what the reports were, that he is injured and he is banged up and he went home to take care of those injuries. I don't think anyone was ever denying or in doubt of that on either side of the story.
Right.
You know? And it's kind of funny how people will take a narrative like that and look for like a false proof. You know what I mean? I also saw someone that I respect. I won't name any names, but I saw someone like post something about like they're like will put all fears to rest or something like that concerning like the reports, and they shared like tidbits of an interview where he was like, I'm going to be with New Japan for the next 5 years. I plan on, you know, I've said this many times in the past, I want to end my career here. But then like I went and looked, and like the interview was from like prior to him going home. And I'm like, it's very misleading to like post stuff like that to make it seem as though he was addressing the situation when he was clearly not addressing the situation, because the situation hadn't even occurred yet.
Right. Yeah, I saw the same post and thought about that too. I was like, yeah, like before he left, it's like, yeah, he's not answering anything. So there's still a bunch of questions on what happened and what's going on.
But it's similar to what happened with this WWE New Japan story. Is like, you know, people look for proofs in places that there aren't none. So like, for instance, a lot of people that love New Japan that don't want them to work with WWE they see the stuff with Tony Khan where he's like, we're still working together. They're like, see, the whole story was bullshit. And it's like, no, that doesn't mean the story is bullshit. They could very well still be working with AEW for the time being and also negotiating a deal with New Japan or with WWE.
Right.
Like that's not a proof of anything, you know? And I think it's the same thing here, is like the only thing that it might prove, there were some of those that were saying that his injuries might not, there was the belief that amongst some wrestlers that his injuries might not be, that they might be embellished, you know? And you know what? I think he's injured. I think he's hurt. I think that's the reason he went home. I believe that 100%. But if you were a tinfoil hat conspiracist, you might like literally be like, well, he sent us a picture of a spine. A spine.
Right.
Whose spine was it? You know what I mean? And there are people who think that way. I'm not saying that I'm one of them. And I'm not saying I don't believe the thing he's saying. But there are those people who think he's still working. Which, in the grand scheme of things, is that possible?
Oh, yeah.
Sure. It absolutely is.
Yeah, especially if,
I don't think it's likely.
Yeah, especially if you know the situation in New Japan will kind of water under the bridge and he's going to come back and they kind of want to continue this story. Then yeah, he can work and send updates about doctors and shoot out X-rays and stuff like that. But I don't know. I do think he is hurt and he does need a rehab, and I think he'll be with New Japan at least for the remainder of this year.
We will see. We'll see what happens.
So then in our Forbidden Door update, we had Satoshi Kojima making his Impact debut last week, and he called out former rival Joe Doring. So it'll be Satoshi Kojima versus Joe Doring at Against All Odds, the next Impact Plus special. And we had a question here from Hawaiian Punch BV. He says, with Impact walking the King's Road, Muto era, and putting former Triple Crown champion Satoshi Kojima against former Triple Crown champion Joe Doring in a special singles match, what other matches would you like to see Kojima in? When it's safer in Japan and Impact can and send talent over, would you like to see Joe Doring competing in New Japan? maybe him and someone from Violent by Design can bring some new blood into World Tag League. Also, have you seen Kojima's review of Panda Express, and what do you think he meant by a lot of wank?
I was not aware. I'm not as big on All Japan, especially from that Muto time frame. But yeah, I didn't know that they had a Triple Crown title match in 2010. That's very interesting. I might want to track that down. I kind of thought Joe Doring was after Kojima's time in All Japan, to be honest. So I wasn't even fully aware he was there. It looks like Joe Doring was like working there going back to 2007. That's kind of crazy. Maybe even earlier. Who knows? That's crazy. Yeah, I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. But yeah, this should be a pretty hard-hitting match, good matchup here for Kojima. Kind of.
And any other matches you want to see him in Impact that you could think of?
Maybe a match with Moose might be pretty interesting. Trying to think if there's anybody else that really stands out that I'm like
Kenny Omega.
Yeah. I think Kenny needs to hold the strongest arm. Give my man Kojima that Impact World title. Let Kojima run the territory for a little bit. So that's what I think.
I'd be okay with Black Taurus wrestling Kojima.
Oh yeah, dude. The funny thing is, I watched Impact last week because I was on 8-Bit Suplex on the network here. Check that out. And I watched the Kojima, the debut and calling out Doring. Yeah, and Black Taurus was on that episode. I always forget that he's on there because I hate the way they use him. They got him stuck in the decay with Crazy Steve. It's like, why aren't you pushing this man? Like Black Taurus should be the X-Division champion.
He's not a major part of the show or anything like that. I'm kind of like just looking over the roster, and I'm like, they got some good people, but there's not like anyone that I'm like, there really are no matches where I'm like, oh man, I would love to see Rhino against Kojima.
Right.
Although that does kind of sound cool, but there's not much there that I'm like excited about.
Yeah.
Maybe Josh Alexander. I like Josh Alexander a lot. Maybe I'd be into that.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, I think there might be some more potential matchups for him in AEW.
Yeah, he also mentioned Joe Doring coming to New Japan. I doubt that would happen, just given his previous affiliation with All Japan. Plus, I've heard that he, in recent years, has just not been the same guy that he was even just like 3 or 4 years ago. So I don't even know if I'd really want to see him in New Japan at this point.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not familiar with his work in his prime, and I have not seen any of his New Japan stuff.
Just think he's honestly, he's just a power move, like a updated Stan Hansen with power moves, literally.
Gotcha.
Very similar. I mean, very, very, very similar. He's all like Joe Doring was awesome. There's a Jun Akiyama match from January 3rd, 2015. That maybe it's from January 1st. I don't know. It murders. Like, it's an incredible match if you've never seen it.
Yeah, I'll check that out. I also want to check out the match he had with Kojima as well, leading into this match up against all odds.
Also, based on Kojima's review of Panda Express, I just have to assume there's a lot of masturbation in Panda Express.
Yeah, so
that's what I assume, right?
For people who didn't see it, so it was on Instagram. He says, "When I'm staying in Los Angeles, I have a very favorite meal. It's a Chinese dish called Panda Express. In a lot of wank, I'm going to choose what I like and put it in. This is really super delicious, and I ate it almost every day. If you eat too much, you'll get fat." Then he put the little water drop emojis.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Sound like
I don't know.
Sounds like he's getting more than Panda Express when he's in LA.
Yeah. I don't even want to begin to speculate because I have no idea what that means. So
yeah. Clearly, probably just a mistranslation. If he's probably trying to use a Google Translate or something and it didn't copy over correctly.
In other news, New Japan Strong show on May 7th, where Jon Moxley and Chris Dickinson defeated Nagata and Narita. The original idea is reportedly to reform Moxley and Shooter Umino as a tag team, but Umino was injured and Moxley picked Dickinson to be the replacement. So we kind of missed out on that one.
Yeah, that would have been great. I mean, yeah, I think that would have definitely, fans would have really loved seeing Mox and Shooter together.
I can't wait for Moxley to like win the title, and then Shota Umino to like come out of the crowd and like fucking challenge him and beat his ass. This week's free match of the week: Will Osprey versus Kazuchika Okada from the 46th anniversary event. Now it's time for some questions.
Yeah. So first, Wheeljack83 says, is it time for NJPW to go on a temporary hiatus?
Shut your mouth. No. Why would they go on a hiatus? That would be bad for business.
we just had a couple-week hiatus.
Yeah, I feel like we've been on a hiatus for a couple months now. Like, hell no.
Yeah.
Next question.
Next question from Zach at Tiffin Buck. When do we see Young Boy and The Fiend on a Road to Dominion show?
Never. Next question. Dom Homie 101 has a series of questions that are going to close us out. He said, with Ren Narita working some AEW dates, what would be some ideal opponents for Ren Narita? I think Narita against Jungle Boy would be an ideal matchup, in my opinion. A lot of matchup questions today. Yeah, I think that would be good. I don't know.
Yeah, I think people, because Narita is smaller, they might want to tend to think to put him up against juniors. But he's a very good striker and grappling guy. So I would see him against more guys that can like strike with him. Like I think a singles match with him and Mox could be good. Him and JD Drake, I think could be kind of a good. Those guys can kind of slug at each other.
Yeah, that one sounds cool. Cody, see him, he beat Cody's ass.
Put him in that Narita special, tap him out.
Him and Eddie Kingston would probably be really good.
Yeah.
So that's one I would probably like to see. I don't know. I'll throw one other one out there just so we can move on. How about Miro?
Again, yeah, another kind of heavy hitter striker guy that Narita can try and keep up with there. Yeah, that would be fun.
Throw a last one out there for you. Ray Phoenix, because why the fuck not?
Why not? Yeah. Ray Phoenix makes everything great, so that would be awesome.
Non-NJPW question, what are your guys' thoughts on the rumor of Cardi B hosting SummerSlam? I think Soulja Boy should be the host of this year's SummerSlam since he was the first rapper to body slam Andre the Giant, LOL. I don't understand your question, and I will not respond to it.
Yeah, I'm totally missing the joke here about Soulja Boy and body slamming Andre, and honestly, I had no idea Cardi B was hosting SummerSlam until I read this question.
That's the rumor.
Yeah, so I have no... good for
I'll tell you what, I'm not watching SummerSlam this year. It's happening the same night as Errol Spence Jr. against Manny Pacquiao. Errol Spence Jr. versus Manny Pacquiao, the big dog versus, the leader of the C Nation. I don't, I'm probably going to watch the boxing fight.
I don't know, man. Battle for, WWE supremacy between the big dog and Mr. Never Give Up.
Acknowledge me, John. I saw a graphic that was like, if John Cena loses, he has to acknowledge, and then it had Roman Reigns' name crossed out, and it said Taiwan.
Yeah, I saw.
Last question. Any thoughts on the recent Devin Haney versus Jorge Linares fight? I was truly impressed about the performance by Devin Haney. Devin did his thing. His jab, his body work was on point. Devin outboxed Linares for the first 10 rounds, but the boxing media would only talk about how Haney got rocked by a punch at the end of the 10th round, and they gave him shit for it. I didn't see the media had the same energy when Ryan Garcia got dropped by Luke Campbell or when Loma got dropped by Linares. But that's a different story for a different day. Also, Ryan Garcia needs to stop talking shit, worry about his mental issues, quote unquote. He could have fought Devin, but he decided to go play the game of Duck, Duck, Goose without the goose. I'll tell you this much. Devin Haney is a great fighter, but he's boring, bro. That's why people don't like him. I'll tell you, I believe I'm reading between the lines here when I say this. I think what you're alluding to is the idea that Devin Haney is getting shit on by the boxing media because he's black, and Ryan Garcia and Loma are, a white and a Hispanic guy. That's not the big difference here. The big difference is Devin Haney got dropped late after dominating on the cards and then almost got beat for the rest of the fight and did not look like the winner, even though he won on the scorecards. Like, Jorge, dude, you asked me last week, you said you thought Devin Haney was going to beat Linares. I said probably, but I said Linares is a dog and he's coming for that ass. And look what he did. He did the same thing. And you're bringing up the fight with Lomachenko. He did the same thing to Loma. But the big difference is Lomachenko and Ryan Garcia are exciting fighters, and they finish people. Not to say Devin Haney doesn't have a good knockout punch, but, I mean, yeah, he didn't stop Jorge Linares. And his last fight was against, who was it? Gamboa. And, yeah, he beat an old Gamboa, but he didn't look exciting beating him up. So, I mean, that's the thing with Devin Haney. He's kind of a boring fighter, bro. That's why people don't like him. And he has very little personality too. And boxing is a star. It's not a meritocracy. It's not about who performs better. It's a star-driven thing, just like MMA. Just like, same thing with like why people like Conor McGregor. It's not because he's the greatest fighter ever. It's, it's the production and the stage presence and everything like that. I think Devin Haney's great. They're talking about him fighting Teofimo Lopez to unify the lightweight division. I guarantee you Teofimo Lopez is going to beat up Devin Haney. Guarantee it. Devin Haney has holes in this game. He always has. I think he's a really great fighter. He's got a lot of upside. But I don't think he's truly elite. I think the fact that he got caught by Linares and almost dropped was kind of a revealing thing. And he has to fight a very, very, very calculated, safe style of boxing to win his fights. He doesn't have that heart to go in there and trade bombs and to like, to go to war. Like that's not him. He's a tactician. So, yeah, I do agree. I think Ryan Garcia is also a guy who's very exciting and stuff, but yeah, I don't think he wants to smoke with Devin Haney or any of these other lightweights because I think he'll get exposed. Ryan Garcia is, he's a YouTube boxer, so that's my thoughts on that shit.
Well, that'll take us to recommended match of the week. So last week you recommended for me to watch the Otani Liger match from the Super J Crown from 1997, and this was a awesome matchup here. I made sure to watch this after I watched the Road 2 shows because I just figured a match of a big crowd, Liger, Otani, like it's going to be a great match. It's going to be heated. I should not watch this before the Road 2, but yeah, it was an awesome match here. Very, very hard hitting. These guys were slapping and very snug and just hitting the crap out of each other. It was almost like a mix of a never style matchup with a junior matchup, and Liger was very aggressive in this match. I'm sure there was probably some backstory leading into this match, but yeah, he was very aggressive towards Otani, working over the leg throughout the beginning part of the match with dragon screws, leg locks, and then Otani was working over Liger's arm throughout the match. A lot of great exchanges. Otani had some big moves, and we talked about this during the final countdown, but the way that Otani would like springboard off the ropes was just like very unique than kind of the springboard you see nowadays. And so doing some springboards, tope con helos, Otani kicked out of a huge Liger bomb. He had a lot of great suplexes on Liger. There was a German and a dragon suplex that were awesome. Liger hitting a shote for a near fall. Crowd popped, and I mean, we've heard crowds pop for shotes, but like, this was another level. Like the crowd like erupted when he hit that shote and got the near fall. Going for a fisherman buster, hit twice, and he was going for a regular brain buster. Otani reversed that. And he had a great closing sequence. These guys just kind of exchanging strikes until Liger hits one last big shote and gets the win there.
Yeah. Awesome match. What would you have rated this?
Probably like 4.5.
Nice. Yeah. I think this match still really, really holds up even after all these years.
Yeah, really, really great stuff. So if you guys haven't checked that out yet, check that out. And then my pick for recommended match of the week, we're going back to 2016 in the G1. We're going for Marufuji versus Ishii, July 28th, 2016.
There's a lot I remember from that G1. For some reason, I do not remember Marufuji and Ishii. I was surprised to see you list it, but I guess that does make sense. They were in the same block. Ishii was like the truth in that G1. Have you watched this match? Is it good?
I have not watched it yet, but
okay, because I don't remember it, and so I'm like wondering if that's not a good sign. But we'll see.
I think it was upper. It was like I think upper 8s when I looked on Cage Match.
Okay. Well, that's great. So I'll definitely, take a look at that. But I'm going to close this out this week. Since you have it here in the rundown. So that is going to do it for the show this week. Next week, we'll be back to review Dominion this weekend. If you've enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation. Visit socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keepin It Strong Style logo. Make sure to connect with us on social media. On Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Reddit. Oh, I don't know the tags.
Yeah, on Twitter, you can find us at KI Strong Style, Network at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. Facebook, we're facebook.com/Social Suplex. Also find us in the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. Instagram, we're at Social Suplex. Reddit, on the Pro Black Guy, also just Keeping It Strong Style. Email me, Jeremy@socialsuplex.com.
Yeah, every time I go on a show and they're like, what are your guys' plugs? I'm like, our Twitter handle is at KI Strong Style. Like, anything else? I'm like, yeah, there's some other stuff, but I don't know it. Check out all the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. On Sundays, we have One Nation Radio hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. Wednesdays, we have the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show from Scotland. Thursdays, the Grave Consequences Show with Caleb and Maserati. Friday, 8-Bit Suplex with Josh number 2 and Sandy. Saturdays, All Things Elite with Floyd Johnson. And then the Great Match Generator. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. We'll catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.